This is not going to be good. People aren't going to like me for this, but if I'm honest, I'm not a fan of this guy. Hello world, my name is Fuego Del Sol. I am a professional wrestler, and I had the awesome job of working for All Elite Wrestling, AEW, for a little over 3 years until I was released, unfortunately, earlier this year. However, during my time, I got to work with some of the top stars of professional wrestling. Guys like Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, the Young Bucks, and many more. And today, I'll be ranking and reviewing some of these top names in wrestling that I had the pleasure and maybe displeasure of working with. Now, obviously, fans of his channel may know, but I got this idea from Maven Huffman, former WWE superstar who has some great videos about his time in WWE from the early 2000s over on his channel. So I got to give the channel a plug and shout out Maven. Thanks for the inspiration for this video. I had a friend print these photos. I do not know who's coming. It's all random to keep my reactions honest. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have, oh man, I should have known this guy was going to be first. Sammy Guevara. What can I say about Sammy? Of course, we go way back. But I also understand, it's a thing that they say online. He's got a very punchable face. Even before I met him, he looks like a little bit of a jerk, right? You can see it. He seems egotistical, maybe a little arrogant. But behind the scenes, when you get to know him, the dude is incredibly nice. He keeps to himself in the back, but he shakes every person's hand, whether it be from the ring crew to the lighting crew to all the wrestlers. He's a very kind individual. He always makes time for fans. And without him, I would have never gotten to AEW. So big thanks to Sammy. Incredible wrestler, incredibly athletic. He's only going to get better with time. Love this guy. Shout out to Sammy Guevara. Next up, oh man, do I have some stories about this guy. We're talking about Le Champion, the Ocho, Chris Jericho. Let me tell you a story about Chris. The night before I got signed, I was in the production call with the production crew. And I was told that he emphasized that none of the crew should tell me that I was going to get signed the next day. They had already decided that they were going to give me a contract on the first ever episode of Rampage. And on the phone call, he emphasized no one should tell this guy if we want to get a genuine moment, if we want to get a big reaction out of Fuego Del Sol, you must keep this a secret. And then afterwards, he spoke to me and told me how much I earned it. Without his approval, without his stamp of approval, I don't think I'm in AEW. He saw the reactions I was getting. He always made time for me. If at any point I felt like I needed to run some ideas by him or get some advice, he was always there. And it's crazy just to see the longevity of this man, how good he still is in the ring to this day, how he constantly reinvents himself and comes up with ideas to keep himself relevant. One of the GOATs of all time. Big shout out to Chris Jericho. Next up, not just one, but two. Arguably the greatest tag team in the world, and I can make this argument. We're talking about none other than the people that helped make this company happen. The Young Bucks. The Bucks are incredible, man. I looked up to them as an inspiration to me even before I met them, even before I got to AEW. But then meeting them, they say never meet your heroes, but the Bucks would have to disagree with that. The first day as an extra behind the scenes, I got to meet these guys and they had no ego about them. They treated me just like they treated everyone else. They're cracking jokes. They're asking me questions. We're having a good time. They are so selfless and so humble when they could be egotistical, when they could have attitudes. They just want to wrestle and put on a good show. And they want to see other wrestlers succeed. And Nick and Matt both have messaged me and gave me advice when they didn't have to. They've asked about my family when they didn't have to. And they're just truly stand up, not only wrestlers, but just men overall. And I have a lot of love for the Young Bucks, and I wish them nothing but success. And without these two, AEW doesn't exist. They help change the wrestling landscape for the better, and I will give them their flowers every chance I get. Shout out to the GOATs, the Young Bucks. Speaking of GOATs, we have none other than the GOAT. For my money, the best wrestler in the world to this day, Bryan Danielson. See, here's a good story about Bryan Danielson. People don't know he is portrayed so humbly on social media and online, but the more he's in AEW, the more stories come out about the jokester that this man is. He's constantly trying to crack jokes. Some people call him a bully. I wouldn't go that far, but like, he likes to keep the locker room interesting. He's a maniac. I remember this hilarious story where him and Pac were having a pistol squat competition. Who has the deepest and best pistol squat between him and Pac? Out of nowhere, I walk into the hallway. Him and Pac are both in pistol squat position, and he asked me who has the better pistol squat. And I couldn't lie. I said it was Pac. And he proceeded to throw something at my crotch, and it hurt very bad. But it's just one of the hilarious stories from Bryan Danielson in the back. Him and William Regal would help train Jade Cargill in the ring before shows, and I got to go work. Me and Wheeler Yuta and Jade and others would go in and get some work with Bryan Danielson. He was always very forthcoming with techniques and information about wrestling, and I just wanted to soak up as much knowledge as I could. But not only is he an incredible wrestler, he's an incredible jokester, locker room legend, Bryan Danielson. From one of the biggest jokesters to one of, if not the nicest men in pro wrestling. People don't know Adam Cole, baby. One of the nicest men in wrestling. If you follow his Twitch channel, The Chugs, you see it. He's just a wholesome man. He loves professional wrestling, he loves video games, and he loves his friends. But when that camera turns on and he has to turn into the promo machine that he is, he's incredible. He has a confidence that he can turn on at a moment's notice. But the second that red light's off, the second he comes back through the curtain, one of the most humble men I've ever met. Big shout out to Adam Cole. Speaking of humble, you got to talk about the Hangman. Hangman Adam Page, former AEW World Champion. This guy, very quiet guy, keeps to himself. Very passionate guy. He's all about family. Me and him had a lot of talks about fatherhood. We had a lot of talks about wrestling in general, but never braggadocious, never egotistical. Was always there to talk if you needed to talk, and just so focused on bettering himself in the ring. Super nice guy. Super nice guy. Love the Hangman. Ooh, we go from one quiet guy to a quite different quiet guy. We're talking about Jon Moxley. See, Jon is different because Jon very much keeps to himself. If he doesn't have to talk to anybody, I don't think he would. This guy is a guy you have to earn his respect in the locker room, I believe, you know. He said it in interviews in the past that unless he's wrestled you or is wrestling you tonight, he has no interest in getting to know you or getting to talk to you. And I respect that. I like Jon. I've always loved his work. You know, he helped put AEW on the map when he made the jump. It helped solidify and legitimize AEW. And he just loves wrestling, showing up at indie shows all across the country. There's no doubt in my mind he wants to better wrestling, and I can see that. And a few times we did get to talk, he was very encouraging. He told me to go out on the indies and do more stuff. And if I needed any help getting booked or needed to approve it with AEW management, to talk to him, because he was the guy to talk to, and he wanted the betterment for the roster, even if he wasn't backstage laughing and giggling with all the boys. He's still one of the best of all time, and I love his work. So shout out Jon Moxley. Oh, here we go. We got none other than freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy, very quiet guy on the surface, but a very, very talkative guy backstage. You know, he's extremely smart. People don't know his job before wrestling. He has a degree. He has a big old brain up there. It's crazy how smart and athletic this man is. I remember getting signed to AEW the first night there. I had a great match with Miro, and he complimented me on my match, but he said, "Hey, you know the satellite DDT that you did? I do that. Please don't do that." And I said, "Okay, I will not do your DDT, Orange." But I got hurt and was out for a significant amount of time, and I showed up backstage at Double or Nothing earlier this year, and he was very excited to see me, which made me feel very good. He was like, "Fuego, oh man, how you doing? How you feeling? Is everything okay?" And that really made me feel good. If I had to rate this man with maybe like some type of hand gesture about the type of person he is, I'd probably give him One of these. Here we go. This is not gonna be good. People aren't gonna like me for this, but if I'm honest, I'm not a fan of this guy. To be for real, I'm just not. We're talking about the current AEW World Champion, MJF. When I say I'm not a fan, I should reiterate that I try to never let my personal opinion get in the way of someone's actual talent. He's talented as all hell. Incredible promo guy. When he does decide to wrestle, he puts on incredible matches. He makes himself an attraction. However, early on in AEW, even before I got signed, he gave me one like weird disparaging remark in front of a lot of people backstage, but it was offhanded. I'm sure he don't even remember it. I do though. Some people are gonna go out of their way to critique you or congratulate you or help you out. He kind of stuck to himself in that regard, never really talked to me, and so I don't think we're each other's cup of tea. However, that doesn't change the fact that he's insanely talented, and I will never, ever, ever let my personal opinion of someone get in the way of how good they are, and he's great. Next up, we have Kenny Omega. Kenny, one of the nicest men in professional wrestling. We share the same birthday, October 16th. I know that because when AEW used to post the birthday graphics, Kenny requested that his not be posted. People would just comment on my post asking where's Kenny's post. You know, at one point I really was in some talks before my injury to go to Japan, and he was very helpful and gave me a ton of advice about what I could do. Anytime I needed anything, I could go to Kenny and ask, and he made time for me, always, in the nicest way. He's just insanely good at professional wrestling, bell to bell, putting a match together. I would sit there and just be enamored by how good he is. Kenny is the man. Shout out to my birthday bro, the cleaner, one of the best of all time. All right, this one could be controversial. This one could be a hot take. Let's talk about it, because the world can't get enough of talking about CM Punk. Pepsi Phil, as some call him. From his first day in AEW, he always spoke to me. He always made time for me. He always was kind to me. I don't know how everybody else feels about Punk. I tried to never let someone else's opinion of someone distract me from how they treated me. I try to figure out how did they treat me? Did they treat me well? And then when I got hurt and had a foot injury, he had a foot injury the year before, a similar foot injury the year before. And he reached out to me when he did not have to. He gave me advice. He let me vent when I was in a dark place during my injury. And I will forever be grateful and thankful to him for that. He did not have to reach out to me and talk to me as much as he did. So he will always be a friend in my book. I like CM Punk. I hope the best for him and whatever he decides to do next. I hate that things couldn't work out for him in professional wrestling, but the fact that he treated me so well means a lot to me. I know some people are not going to like this opinion of him, but he was good to me. And if you're good to me, I'll forever be good to you. Big thanks to CM Punk. Last but not least, this company doesn't happen without this man. He definitely changed the landscape of professional wrestling for the better. We're talking about Tony Khan, the owner and booker of All Elite Wrestling. Very kind man, always very kind to me, incredibly busy. I don't know how he works this hard. Between the Fulham Football Club over in the UK, between the Jacksonville Jaguars and AEW, he stays busy. I don't know how this man has enough hours in the day to get things done. He's also balancing all of these big names and egos and ideas, and he's got to try to figure out what gets TV time, what doesn't get TV time. I don't think I ever fully won this guy over, which is probably why I'm not in AEW right now, but it doesn't change the fact that he started the company and helped change pro wrestling for the better. Wrestling is better when we have multiple big companies, multiple places paying the big bucks for professional wrestling. Even though I'm no longer in AEW, I can't say a bad word about Tony Khan. I'm very thankful for my time in AEW. If you want to hear about the day I actually got released from AEW, you can watch this video. Also, I got a brand new podcast that drops every Thursday where I talk positively about professional wrestling called Lighten Up Brother with Fuego Del Sol. You can catch the video version right here on this channel or the audio version wherever you get your podcast from. Also, if you've been liking these videos, I have a Patreon. You can subscribe for little as $3, get all of these videos early and a lot more exclusive content, including exclusive podcast episodes. If that's something you might be interested in, please check out the links in the description below. And I will see you next time on this channel. Bye.